Hi, everybody. It's Wednesday, so welcome to the Love and Light Show with me, Sarah Manning. I'm unfortunately still dealing with a cold, so my voice actually comes and goes, and I've been coughing a lot, but I'm hoping that I was like, please don't let me cough during the next half an hour, because, you know, when you cough, excuse me, when you cough so much, your head ends up hurting, and that's what's going on for me right now, but that's okay. I hope you're all having a really great day. I know that even though I'm sick, I still had a good day and still, did a few things, everything. So while we're just waiting for my producer Dave to get me a caller so I can connect one of you to Spirit, I was excuse me, I was shuffling my cards to tell you, give you a message for the week, and I laughed when I saw the card that flew out because it's very pertinent to me right now. It's very much Heal the Ouch card. And by the way, I don't think I've ever mentioned it, or maybe haven't for a long time, but the cards that I generally use for Wednesdays for readings is the Enchanted Map by Colette Baron Reid. I love these cards so much. They've always resonated with me since I bought them. But so I laughed when I saw the Heal the Ouch because actually before I came on live, I ended up calling my husband and being like, oh my gosh, my anxiety is through the roof. I'm like, run away. I want to take your truck. He's got my car, so I wanted to take his truck and just like disappear. And I was like, if I do that, poor Dave and Connie, our producers, would be wondering where the heck I was and how unfair would that be. So it just, it's just funny how sometimes you have to sit with those feelings and you have to sit with the uncomfortableness to be able to move past it. And sometimes that's what you have to do when you have to heal the ouch. You have to investigate as to why you're feeling something, what's going on, even what you're feeling. I think sometimes we don't even know what we're feeling. So you have to sit with it. And then as I was sitting with it, I remembered that right now we actually have a solar flare going on, and that can increase anxiety, that can increase energy, it can increase exhaustion. So there's so many different things that are going on right now. Excuse me. I apologize. I'm sorry, guys. There's so many things going on in our solar system right now, energetically, that you kind of have to roll with the punches. And this cold has been holding on to me for the past, we're going on 3 weeks now. And I was talking to somebody else, and they were telling me, because I was like, 1 minute I'm fine, and the one day I'm fine, and then the next day I'm like miserable again. And I guess that's the way this is going. And the older you get, the less you're less able, I can't even talk. The less you're able to bounce back. That's what I want to say. So while we're still waiting, and I'm fine, that's totally good. Let's talk more about Heal the Ouch. One of the things that actually I just told a client during a reading is sometimes the hardest thing to do is to actually let ourselves feel what we're feeling without a label. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when I'm feeling a certain emotion or something like that, I mean, there were times that there's a couple things coming to mind. I was like, a couple times I would ask my husband, should I feel this way? Like, this seems a little ridiculous. This seems a little crazy. And he would be like, you can feel any way you want to feel. You're fine feeling that way. However you want to feel, however long you want to feel it, that's fine. Emotions don't make sense. They're not logical. They just are what they are. And sometimes there's even the time where I'll be sitting and I'll be feeling things, and I don't even know what I'm feeling. I just know that I have a really strong emotion behind what's going on. And instead of trying to judge it, make it fit in a box, or, just define it, I'll just let those emotions and those energies wash over me. And the more I don't fight it, the more I'm able to release it and move forward faster. And I think that's a hard thing for us as a society to do nowadays is, we're told how we should feel. We're told when we should feel it. And for example, I wasn't a huge fan of his work just because I didn't grow up being allowed to watch it. But with Luke Perry that just passed away, blessings and comfort to all of his family. But some people were judging his daughter for not grieving strong enough, or, in public, not grieving the way they thought she should. And, for someone to lose their father and being judged for how they were grieving, that just seems so disheartening in this world. So I think it's, just allowing yourself to feel whatever you're going to feel and however long you're going to feel it. I think that is just so, so important and everything. And again, not labeling it. And that's for men or women. I know that women are allowed to feel more than men. And thank goodness, as a society, we're growing and we're realizing that men need to feel things too. And it's actually interesting talking about that and even saying that is because I know even for myself, I need to work on that a little bit. My nephew, he's going through a lot, and every once in a while he posts on Facebook. About some things that he's experiencing, and sometimes I just roll my eyes and I'm like, oh, good gracious, buddy, like, let's move forward. But then the other part of me is like, oh my God, I'm being so mean. I'm an auntie who's like judging my nephew and everything. So there's always that balance that you need to find, and I'm certainly not perfect at it, as I just shared. Sometimes I get after my nephew to get his button gear and stuff like that, and it's hard finding that balance of being supportive versus enabling. But I think as long as you show that person love, that's good. So we have Amy in Harlan, Kentucky here on the line with me. Hi, Amy. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm just fine, thank you. I'm fighting a cold, but that's okay. At least I got a voice today, so that's always a good thing. And it's the middle of the week, so that's always nice. How's the weather down in Kentucky? Are you guys pretty warm, or does it get pretty cool down there?
It's pretty warm today.
Nice. That's nice. Do you guys ever get snow in Kentucky? I've never been down there.
Yeah, we get snow.
Oh, okay. Too much snow?
Yes, ma'am. We get too much snow.
Gotcha. Yeah, we usually, so where I'm living now, we usually don't have any snow by the end of February, and we still have so much snow, and here we are in the middle of March. So we're disappointed by that this winter, but that's okay. It's starting to warm up. I'm just going to go down and grab your cards here.
Right, you're crazy.
Sorry, say that again?
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I just didn't hear what you said, but that's okay. Your card, whenever I shuffle cards for clients, they always fly all over the place, and your two cards flew over and everything. It's really, really interesting, Amy, because the two cards that I actually have that came up for you are Moonlight and Stuck in the Mud. And normally when I look at the Moonlight card, it's usually about if that person finds a lot of energy in the night. But it's interesting because I almost feel that you've been dealing with a lot of heavy emotions, and I want to say that you've been really secluded the past little bit as well. Does that make sense for you?
It would.
It does?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So it's interesting. Like, the other thing I want to remind you about this, and I find it, like, I don't know if you heard the introduction to my show, but it was very much about letting yourself feel emotions without judging them. And, I feel like what's impacting you actually happened, like the actual event happened some time ago, but there's residual feelings and residual emotions that you're still dealing with. So you're frustrated with yourself because you feel the weight still, yet at the same time, you're still trying to move forward. But the thing I want to remind you is you can't move forward until you allow yourself to feel, because you have to feel to heal. And that's, to me, is why the Stuck in the Mud card comes up. And it's very much, you've been on the same track, you're still trying to move forward, and you're trying to get back into routine, but nothing's fitting anymore. Would that make sense to you? Do you understand that?
Yes, it does.
Okay. It's interesting because the other thing I want to remind you, Amy, is that excuse me, pardon me. The one thing I would remind you is routines work for a certain period of time, but they're not always going to work. And when they don't work, and when we feel that we're no longer being nurtured or that we're getting what we want out of it, it's really important to make a new routine. Sometimes we tell ourselves, oh, if I don't work out in the morning, I'm not going to work out. Well, says who? Your mind is saying that to yourself. And your thought thoughts are saying that to you, but there's actually no hard, fast rules saying if you don't work out in the morning, you can't work out in the evening. So it's about finding what's actually working for you. And I would encourage you to switch up your routine on not a daily basis, like, because sometimes it takes a couple days to get into a routine. But the biggest thing I want to remind you is just allow days to be days. Don't judge yourself for getting, Monday you did 5 things, but Tuesday you could only get 2 done, and today you got 7 things done. Days are days. Our energy levels are not constant. We're not a battery. We're always fluctuating, especially when we're dealing with heavy emotions and trying to face things that we maybe been hiding from for so long. The other thing I want to encourage you to do is be very aware about what you're bringing into your body, because I also like the other thing I want to encourage you is like the other thing I get for you is very much that you're not a consistent eater. Like you're only eating when you're hungry, but you're not hungry enough. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
It does.
So, Amy, are you a fan of smoothies or, thing like crisps or anything like that? Like, are you a fan of things that can be done really quickly?
Yeah, for the most part.
Okay, so I would encourage you that even if you're like, I don't want to sit at the table and have a full meal, I'm just not up for that, I would have things like smoothie packs ready to go in your freezer that you can just throw in your blender, add some juice or milk, and blend up, and have like power bars if you need it. That way you just start getting some nutrients into your body. It's not the perfect solution. I would encourage you to eat more vegetables, and I keep hearing broccoli. I need to encourage you to get some really good macronutrients into your system. But if it's a choice between not eating at all and getting something into your system, I would say get something, because that will help with your emotions, leveling them out and making it so that the days aren't so monotonous, because it's almost like a piece of you is missing. And what I would remind you is that every single day we are a whole individual. We just are navigating different lessons in different ways. So as much as it feels like this pain and this frustration and this depression will never leave, I encourage you to even smile at yourself until it feels natural again. Does that make sense? Do you understand all that?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Do you have any questions for me in general?
No, not that I can think of now.
Okay. Well, Amy, that is the time that I have for you. I actually have another caller waiting, but thank you so much for letting me pass on that information to you. The other thing that I want to tell you is don't be so, like, I want to encourage you not to be so housebound. Like, it's almost like even if you have nowhere to go, at least get out of your house and walk around the block just to get out. And as you're walking, don't think about anything. Just allow yourself to enjoy your environment, because that's another way to connect to yourself and the present is just looking for things that you've never noticed about your neighborhood before, and that can bring you back to the present and realize, okay, I'm breathing, I'm good, I can move forward. And that's what I would encourage you to do. Okay Awesome. Thank you so much, Amy, for again joining me today. It was a real pleasure chatting with you, and love and light to you, and I wish you all the best.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right. Now we have Katie in Louisville, Nebraska. Hi, Katie. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am just fine, thank you. I'm just fine. We're having. I feel like my cold is all of a sudden leaving me for these last few bits, so that's always good. I'm happy about that. Are you guys freezing in Nebraska, or are you guys warming up too?
We're finally warming up. We hit 60 degrees today.
Yay! I don't actually know what that is in Celsius, because we use Celsius up here in Canada, but always, if anybody ever says it's getting warm, I'm just happy for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting to be spring here too, and it's exciting. I keep waiting for we have these beautiful flowers that come out of our grass called crocuses, and that's my sure sign that spring is on the way. So I'm waiting for them, but they have a lot of snow to get out from under right now.
Yeah, here too.
I just got told that 60 degrees is about 15 degrees Celsius. I am so jealous right now. 'Cause, that's really warm, and it would melt a lot of my snow right now. So that's awesome.
That's the same here. It's like we went from like almost 2 feet of snow to almost nothing in a matter of days. So.
Okay, send that up to British Columbia, Canada for me, please. I would greatly appreciate it.
Okay.
Awesome.
I'll send it your way.
Thank you. Well, Katie, as I was shuffling cards, I a whole whack load of them just flew all over the floor, but 2 of them stayed kind of with me. So I'm going to focus on those. But what I find really interesting is about the fact that tons of cards are on my floor right now, and most of them are up, is I actually feel that you're very, like, I want to say that you're actually a very open person, where you're kind of like not only an open book, but you're open to messages from all walks of life, and you're able. Actually, interestingly enough, I keep wanting to say you must be really intuitive at the same time. Would that make sense for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm super happy for that. It's great to be intuitive and everything like that. It's interesting though, because I feel that because you're really open and because you're intuitive, it's almost like the signs that you're asking for, they're not coming through clear enough or strong enough for you to really connect with them because you're so open. Does that make sense to you? Do you understand that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to give you a little trick here. First of all, I would encourage you to start learning how to get what we call grounded. And what that does is it keeps you, number one, it keeps you on this plane. So on this physical earth and this plane. And the other thing is you won't feel so bombarded by all the emotions and by all the energies that the world and people throw at you, whether it's intentional or not. It'll help you keep a little bit more level. And the other thing too is for you, I would say it would bring you clarity in your own thoughts, because when you start checking in and doing meditation, it almost gets really uncomfortable for you because you can hear more than just your internal thoughts. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so definitely learn how to get grounded. If you're not sure, just shoot me a message on Facebook or email, and I will give you some information on how to do that. The other thing that you would need to learn, especially when you're meditating, is putting a white light around you. And what that does is it's like a filter, but it's also just make sure that you're protected in safe space and in loving light. So that would be really good for you as well. And it will help. The other thing too is when you kind of learn how to fine tune that, frequency, you start only connecting to the higher frequencies so that you don't hear everything so much. The other thing I would encourage you to learn how to do is releasing chords. And what chords are is they're energetic, I don't know, for lack of a better term, like plugins that can attach themselves to you, either when you're around people intentionally or when you're just grocery shopping. And I don't tell you all that to scare you, but it's just to let you know, hey, this is what's going on. This is why you have those mood swings. This is why you get really dizzy. This is why you get really exhausted. This is why sometimes your emotions feel like they're all over the place, and why even some of the emotions that you feel are not yours even to begin with. Does that all make sense? Do you understand that?
Yeah, I definitely get that, especially when I'm around other people quite a bit. It's like their emotions come at me and I start feeling what they feel. So.
And it's incredibly uncomfortable, especially when like it's happening subconsciously and you're not even aware of it. Like sometimes it can even happen with people that you really like and you like your family, but when you don't understand what's going on, it can get like really unnerving. So I encourage you to really learn about what's going on with you. And what actually I find really interesting, and I should have listened to my intuition, but I was busy trying to contain my own panic, is as I was getting ready for the show, I literally heard Spirit say, go get this book, go get this book. And I was like, no, I don't have time. But there is a book called Trust Your Vibes by Sonia Choquette. And if you haven't ever read it before, I would encourage you to read it because it's going to give you a lot of tools to figure out, not even necessarily figure out what's going on with you, but just give you the tools to manage it. I think one of the biggest misconceptions that people have is if they learn about it, they have to do it for a living, or they have to, this is how they have to dedicate their life. And it's really not. It's just giving you the tools to be more comfortable in crowds. It's giving you excuse me, like a little life jacket so you don't have to be, what is it when you are floating in water and treading water. So you don't have to tread water all the time in crowds. Like you can just kind of float and then you're good. Mm-hmm. The two cards that came up for you, the number one is the dry desert. And it's actually, it came up upside down. And when a card's upside down, I either view that as pay special attention to message or opposite of. And the other card, which made me chuckle, and I was like, I just realized this was the second card and we talked about you being really wide open, is literally wide open is your second card. So the first card with the dry desert is the number one thing I would also say to you is you are not alone in this journey. I know it can feel very isolating, very like it's hard to relate to other people that don't understand what you're going through. The other thing I keep wanting to tell you like really strongly is I promise you're not crazy, you're not selfish, and you are not seeking attention. It's simply that you're so attuned to energy that you're not quite sure how to move forward and how to gain some individuality. That's the word I want to use, because it's almost like you're getting absorbed by other things that are going on. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So I encourage you to learn as much as you possibly can to understand what you're going, like, obviously, you know what you're going through, but to give yourself the tools to be better be able to manage it. And the other thing too, is when you understand, other people around you start understanding too. Right. And the biggest thing for myself was the fact that my husband was very supportive. I'm very lucky. He was very supportive and very like, okay, what can I do? What's going on? And he recognizes what's going on in me sometimes even before I do. But this is something that you're going to have to learn to accept about yourself and not apologize for it. Because if you apologize for it, then you're still denying a piece of yourself. And I feel like right now there's still a lot of conflict within yourself, whether you really believe that you can do this, connect to energy, or whether it's just a mental thing. And trust me, if it's a mental thing for you, then I belong in a nut house. So I promise you're not crazy. I promise you're not crazy. You're totally good. And then being with the wide open, even though you're very open-minded and you're very open to receiving stuff, the more you fine-tune it, the more you learn about it, the more you strengthen that muscle, you're going to better be able to connect, and you're going to better be like, I want to say you'll have more guidance for where you want to take your life next and what steps you want to take moving forward. And you'll have more control over it, because you can be really open and still have boundaries. And I think that's what's really important for you, is to learn those boundaries within your abilities. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Awesome. Definitely. Do you have any questions or anything for me? Because I still have time with you and everything.
I was kind of curious about like my personal life and where it was going, because I kind of feel like right now I'm more open to relationships,
right,
and actually wanting them for the first time in a really long time. So I was just wondering where that's going.
Well, as soon as I was going to look at all the mess on the floor, but honestly, Spirit was like, "Not take the card from the top of your deck." And I pulled it out, and what it is it's actually the magic prayer. And the magic prayer card is actually about understanding yourself, what you desire out of a relationship. So this is what I would do, because and when this card comes up, it's again, I'm like, oh, she's just very open to whoever is meant to be with her. And in fact, I actually want to say, get really clear on who you want. What type of a relationship do you want? And get really specific. I think that's something that some people forget that they can do, is be really specific with who they want. Someone financially independent, emotionally available, someone that will make me laugh, someone that's tall, someone that's whatever hair color you want. Like, you can get really specific and just trust that the universe will send that person to you. But especially, it's great that you're really open to a relationship, but decide what kind of relationship you want. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So once you do that, write it out, figure it out, trust it, and just know that putting it out to the universe, it'll work for you and it'll come forward. The other thing in that I say that is sometimes when people are like, well, I don't want to do a list because then what if I'm locked to it? And it's, well, you're not locked to it, but if you know what you want, trust that the universe will bring it to you. So that's my biggest piece of advice for you. But I think that's really exciting and really great that you're ready for it. And the universe responds in kind, especially with that magic prayer card, letting you know that they'll hear you. Okay, but that is unfortunately all the time that I have for you today, Katie. Thank you so much for calling in. And to everybody else, thank you as well for joining me. I hope you guys all have an amazing week. And love and light to all of you. Stay warm because spring is coming. See you next Wednesday, guys. Bye.